I am happy to report that I am here live with the esteemed John Diadana. Hello,
Oh
John.
my. Hey, Cole, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks so much for hanging out for a little bit. Phantasmagoria, incredible troupe, art organization. Tell me about the origins of Phantasmagoria.
Sure. So for decades, literally decades, I had wanted something like a horror circus, and I never knew what that meant, right? We had some fits and starts and some ideas, and I never knew what that was going to be. And then I was up in Atlanta teaching, and I saw this incredible fusion puppet show, actors singing, dancing. It was just this incredible thing. It was a William Faulkner novel brought to the stage. And I just thought, that's what I'm looking for, this kind of mix of different genres and things together. And that was the first year we did Phantasmagoria. That was 17 years ago. And it started with one show. We were going to do one show only, nothing else. And then we decided we were going to do a second one, and then a third one. And then we started booking events and doing all kinds of things. And 17 years later, we're still here, which is kind of incredible. And some of the people are the same people, too. So it's really neat to have this, sorry, piano, this group of people that you can have this ongoing creation with.
Yeah, tell me about your love for horror and kind of darker literature. Where does that come from?
Childhood, I mean, I loved horror movies when I was a kid. The mix of the Universal horror movies and the Hammer horror movies, which were like on, Channel 11 in New York every weekend, and I would watch them. And I kind of, it just gave me a thrill. More than like action movies, though I do like action movies. And then I started reading the novels and I reading the history and reading the legends and the mythologies. I was doing that as a child. I remember that I had a book that I was doing with crayons when I was probably about 8. That was like, this is the Loch Ness monster, and these are the stories about him, and this is Bigfoot. So I always was entranced by that kind of stuff. And then when I got involved in theater, I had the benefit of doing some of those stories, in published works and different things. But to be able to kind of go back and study the history of them and to edit them and create them by ourselves, that's kind of incredible. So yeah, it goes back to childhood. And the whimsical side of it, people don't believe me when I say this, but the whimsical side of Phantasmagoria is very much the Beatles. It's their music videos, it's their silliness, and we try to integrate that into Phantasmagoria as well. It's not just dark horror; horror can be funny too, and that's what we try to go for.
Fun. Now, let's talk about the last 17 years of theater in Central Florida.
Oh yes.
Tell me some of your favorite successes about the theater community. Let's start here. Over the last 17 years, what are some of the things that you think stand out as successes of the Central Florida theater community?
Small groups forming on a constant basis. That's just wonderful to see. We have our wonderful large institutions. We have the Orlando Shakes, we have the Family Stage, we have the Opera. And then you have all these small groups that form. And they start developing what they see as theater. It's always unique. It's always different. And I think that's the most exciting thing to watch. You've got places that produce regularly. You have places that produce only like during Fringe or during special events. But that's really exciting. It's a vibrant arts community. And, I've been in a couple of different arts communities around the country, and we're unique in that respect. I think it's because we have the parks. We have the parks here. We bring in a lot of performers, actor performers, which is really neat. And while they're doing their work at the theme parks or the dinner theaters, they want to start doing other things and explore. And so that's kind of really wonderful. I think me personally, I don't know. I don't think you were involved in this production. I know we've done shows together, but we did a production at Fringe years ago that was produced by high school students. They came in and they had this idea and they hired me as a director to do this, and it was just absolutely incredible, and it was this unique experience, and they were doing such a good job. So people are starting at a very young age developing their own voice, their own productions, oftentimes original productions, and that's an exciting thing for Central Florida.
Yeah. Um, let's keep talking about Central Florida theater. Um, I think we've obviously had some ups and downs, as
Mhm.
any community does.
Sure.
We've lost maybe some of those legacy performing arts organizations that have been around for decades. What do you see emerging these days? Like, who do you see
Mhm.
stepping in to produce meaningful or interesting theater, things that have sparked your interest?
Matty McDermott and his company. He's doing some incredible work over there. And Imagine,
Hmm.
the Imagine Theater, the Performing Arts Center that they have over there. He's doing a great work over there. Watching smaller community theaters like Melon Patch change and shift and grow and become stronger and better. And in the case of Melon Patch, getting new facilities. Places like the Athens Theater,
Hmm.
which is above Orlando and Sanford, but up there in DeLand, growing into its own sort of iconic institution. So I do see things growing, expanding, like the Athens Theater in some ways, or these new groups that just a few years ago, Matty McDermott was just independently producing, and now he's a mainstay. His works are a mainstay of this community, and so I think that is really wonderful. When one leaves, like I think the one that's in my heart is of course Theater Downtown.
Yeah.
That's what started so many people.
Yeah.
So it's not like it ever goes away. We're taking what we learned from Frank and Fran and everybody at Theater Downtown, and we're continually growing that through the community. And I think that's the true legacy of a theater community, right? Nothing ever leaves, it just kind of shifts and changes. And so that's what I see continually happening. The Fringe Festival, of course, Immerse. 20 years ago, what was Immerse? It wasn't here.
Right.
Now it is this iconic element of the Central Florida Arts Year. Here we are with this. And so I think it's going to continue to grow rather
Yeah.
than stagnate. We've never seen our community fully stagnate. COVID killed us for a short period of time, yes. But a lot of groups really kind of just said, no, we got to make our way through this. And they did.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I love about theater and theaters is how they become relational circles and create meaningful relationships for people.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you've experienced that over the years through Phantasmagoria, having a troupe that works together and producing content on a regular basis. Talk to
Hmm.
me about the role you see theater playing in not only our community, but in communities in general in 2026.
Family,
Hmm.
a sense of family and community and, safety. When I go to St. Louis, I know that I've got Carol Ann there and Mark there and April, and now we're expanding the troop there. So I have this little mini family in St. Louis that I can go home to. So it's not just happening here, it's happening kind of everywhere. And rather than look at it as, I guess the negative side of all that would be it's a clique.
Sure.
But it really is a family. That can rely on each other. They talk about the Athens theater family, to speak outside of Phatasmagoria for a second, and they really are. And they come and they help each other out and they rely on each other personally as well as professionally. They've gone through some challenges. They had, a storm that almost destroyed parts of the theater. They all
Yeah.
came together, to,
Hmm.
to work that out, to fix that. That's what I think that, where there is community, there is theater. Where there is theater, there's community,
Yeah.
and we rely on each other. So, in Phantasmagoria internally, we call it family with a PH. And it's everything that is. We don't always get along, but we're a family. We fight and we come back together again. Somebody leaves because they have another project and then they come back. We've had people in the troupe who are like, I haven't done a show for 4 years. I'd love to do this one, because they come back to do it. We have had multiple marriages. We have had multiple babies. So it just is watching that neighborhood
Yeah.
grow and expand. And so that's the personal joy in it. The professional joy is seeing the process and the work on stage. The personal joy is seeing those things grow. And that, to circle back, we talked about Theater Downtown, and that's really what they pushed. What did you really have fun doing at Theater Downtown? Rehearsing, performing, or hanging out at the bar with Frank Hilgenberg? Most people would
All of
say
it.
hanging out at the bar, with
Yeah.
Frank Gilbert. He was uncle to all of us, So that sense of family really continues what hundreds of years ago was the sense of community.
Yeah. You get I would assume, honor of approaching theater academically as being part of your role at Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
What are some recent works that you've seen come out that are meaningful and important theatrical works?
Wow. Brilliant question. We tried to really create a diverse season. So last year, watching the energy of American Idiot, Green Day's American Idiot, and speaking of family, watching that family continue to grow. They still are together. And this is a show it's almost a year old now, right? Watching the community come in. We were packed every single night because it's everybody's history. It's Green Day, it's going back decades. It's socially relevant still to this day, if not more so in some ways. Mm-hmm. So watching that community come together, watching people in the audience sing the songs along, watching them get up in the aisles and dancing with the cast, that's a kind of incredible experience. Yeah. And then most recently we did not an original work, but a rarely done work called Yaga, which spoke on a lot of different levels about mythology and legend and feminist rights and the strength of a woman and the empowerment. That was just brilliant. So every show we do offers something new, to the community. Right now we're doing Radium Girls, which is a historical play. There's a film version of it as well. So it speaks to the history of our country. So there's just so much that's relevant there. And then, we're growing other aspects of Valencia as well. OTW has grown from just a class to doing full productions, which is absolutely incredible. Watching LADP expand and do, haunted experiences. Well, John, that's just a haunt. No, it's vital. We live in theme park land. Those students will probably get more work doing something like this, an immersive experience, than they would doing a Broadway show. So I think that's all vital, and it's growing with the times.
That's exciting.
The piano again.
Play a piano for us. All right, let's talk a little bit about IMMERSE. Phatasmagoria, always. We're so grateful that over the years you've partnered with us at IMMERSE and brought your talents and your team and the beauty of what you make to the people and the streets of downtown Orlando. Yeah. Tell us a little bit of what we can expect this year in February.
We like bringing eclectic stuff to things like IMMERSE or MegaCon. So we bring a wide variety of what we do. That's what we did last year. We had a blast doing it. The one thing that we started doing last year, which we're going to actually expand on this year, is storytelling. So that's something we've never really brought to IMMERSE before. We brought the fire dancing, and we brought the musicians, and we brought all that kind of the spectacle, right? Last year we tried bringing in the songs, bringing in the dance and the fire, and then everybody hunkering down together and telling stories. And that was, I think, the most joyous part of last year for us. Yeah. At one point in time, we were like, come off the stage, have the audience gather around us in a circle and tell stories.
I was there for that.
You were there? Oh my God. Yeah. That was our favorite. Yeah. So that's what we're expanding on this year. This year we are bringing in excerpts from our touring show. We have a small touring show called Poe Through the Tales Darkly. It's just a 2-person show. And we've been touring different states with it. It's Carlotta from St. Louis and myself from here. And so we're bringing excerpts from that along with our opera singer, who is writing an original song just for IMMERSE, right? It's going to start with here. We're bringing in our fire dancer, Pandora, who's been with us for 17 years. She started with us when she was 11 years old. And so she's coming in to do fire dancing. And we're also bringing our wonderful belly dancer, Siddhartha, she lives a little further north, more towards like Gainesville. So she's coming down to do this with us. So it's going to be this eclectic evening. And that's kind of what we do at MegaCon too, just eclectic, a little taste and tease is what we call it, of everything we do. So that's going to be fun this year for us.
Fantastic. Well, John, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for doing a little reminiscing and a little state of the theater with us. And we can't wait to see you in downtown. John Diadana.
Can I say one more thing? And it's to embarrass you.
Yeah, so, please.
Everybody, get Cole Nesmith back on stage. He's an incredible performer and an incredible actor, and he's dynamic. So just wanted to say it.
Thank you for saying it. I love the stage. I want to be on it more. I am constantly asking, when can I make space for that? But as you
Yeah.
know, like, it's kind of a requirement, right? For those of us who find that joy of being on stage, it's something that we have to preserve for ourselves. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll see you downtown February 20th through the 20th.